What is up, the Lions fans? It's your boy Motor City Don P. We're back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It is Friday, party, 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 fun, fun, fun. Hashtag, if you know, use the hashtag. But no, it is that time to bust that rhyme and let you know that when you see me front your TV, one thing's for certain and three things are for sure. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats, not none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important number of them all, number three. We want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. You may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very easy. It's actually quite simple. I'm going to tell you. I'll share it with you. No secrets between us. Smash like button, subscribe, and share with your peoples. And once you've done these things in any order, doesn't matter which order you've done them in, you kept your Lions news pragmatic and about your peoples. Once you've shared this with your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your fathers, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers, you name it. You name it. You have indeed cared about these people. What up, though, to everybody in the chat? Y'all are flying in here, piling in. Everybody drop in the chat, say what up, though. Don't just lurk. Don't just lurk and smirk. But if you want to lurk and twerk, you got to do that on your own time. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got nothing to do with you twerking over there now. All right, now. What's up, though, Pierce Sergeant? We got some breaking news. Well, it ain't breaking now. It broke when I was on my way home. David Blau. David Blau, wow, is the new offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. I'm sorry. I meant the Washington Commanders. I had you for a second, didn't you? Washington Commanders did not let this man out of the building. They said, okay, we see you. You went over there, you had an interview, and whatever you was gonna do, you went over there and you did it. Now come on back over here, come on home and sign his contract and take the helm of the offense of the Washington Commanders. I got to tell you, it's a ballsy move for the Washington Commanders because whatever his situation is going to be over there, whatever his offensive philosophy is, it better match up with Dan Quinn. And when you do that as a young offensive coordinator, it could help you or it could hurt you. I don't think it's going to hurt him at all. I just know that he's going to have to be creative in the run game, and he's going to have a dominant run game because that's what Dan Quinn wants to do. Dan Quinn wants to run the football to help the defense, right? Control the time of possession. This is what he wanted Cliff Kingsbury to do. Cliff Kingsbury said, nah, I want to do it my way. She likes it my way. My way. What I say goes. And I'm in control. Right. That's what Cliff Kingsbury wanted, but it wasn't happening. So they parted ways. Which is why I said that Cliff Kingsbury will not wind up in Detroit. But this isn't about Cliff Kingsbury. This isn't about David Blau. There is a reason that the David Blau situation was interesting for us. There's two reasons. Obviously, anybody that had their heart set on David Blau didn't have the same name as me. But anybody that had their heart set on David Blau, it just ain't going to happen. Right? David Blau is not going to happen. Okay. Now, the other reason that the David Blau news is interesting is why I titled this the way I titled it. Now, Uh, that's got to be AI. This has to be AI. Hold on, hold on, hold on. All right, I'm going to mute that. Okay, but this is this video says forget coaching. McDaniel could be a top receiver in the league. I'm gonna play this for you. This has got to be AI. Okay, look at this. That's not even Mike McDaniel. Oh my goodness, bro. It has to be stopped. It has to be stopped. Ah, this is crazy. And he's just cooking, ain't he? Nah, bro. As I said, it's not even Mike McDaniel. Anyway, um, let me see. So here, Mike Payton takes a victory lap, and he says, "I've been trying to tell you guys that the Blau hype is absolutely real. Washington wouldn't let him leave last year, and they're not doing it this year. He is going to be a head coach sooner than you think." Okay, cool. All right. Let me find that clip I was looking for. All right. Do. All right. What? Okay, I got it. All right. What is up to everybody in the chat? Let me get to y'all before I get to this clip. McDaniel's first choice is head coach. That is true, but he might not get it. We should be his first choice. I'm gonna tell you why. And that's what he's going to have to do, because that's what he failed at in Miami, which is why he actually took a head coaching interview with the Tennessee Titans. So, I mean, that's an organization that sucks. I think that's a threat. He's not getting the Baltimore job. He's not getting the Raiders job. He could get the Titans job. So that's a threat. It's not yeah, okay. Yeah, I have to run. I've got an appointment. So I've got an hour with you guys finished. So that's why I did it at 7:45 so I could finish at 8:45 because my appointment is at 9:15. So I got an hour with you guys, and I'm, you know what I mean? I'm gonna wrap it up a little bit. I might do 5 minutes early or something, do mailbag, and then get to it. That makes the road a bit easier for the Lions to hire McDaniel if he doesn't get hired as a head coach. Facts. I thought Mike McDaniel would have been in play over in Washington. That was welcome news. Yes. And where is this clip? I saw it on Easy's Twitter. Easy be posting too much. Okay, here it is. I found it, but let me get back to this. Flying Hawaiian, 2 people commenting as I arrive, and yet I'm the first to like the video. Tisk. Yeah, what's up with the likes? Come on now. Come on now. What up, though, Flying Hawaiian? I missed last night's show, but I just want to say one thing on Bradley. Okay, we'll get to the Brad stuff. All right, here we go. This is why I believed that Mike McDaniel would be going over to Washington.
I love to do. So for that, Dan Quinn holds a special place in my heart, in my career. He was there at ground zero when I became sober and supported me and believed in me and gave me the opportunity to continue what I love to do. So for that, I'll be forever indebted to him. I think it speaks to the type of man he is and the type of leader he is. Dan.
And that was it. So, because he had all of that to say about Dan Quinn and being there for him on his sobriety journey and all these things and allowing him to continue working as a football coach in the NFL, that was something I didn't think that we would be able to overcome. He likes Dan Campbell. He spoke glowingly of Dan Campbell and he said he's authentic and all these things, but I didn't think we'd be able to overcome what we just heard. You believed in me when I was an addict. I became sober. You helped me keep my job and keep coaching. That's tough stuff to overcome. However, we don't have to worry about that now. One down, one to go. One down, one to go. I truly think that the Titans will be considering him seriously. But what I want to happen is that the Titans hurry up, consider him seriously, and let him know they're going to go in another direction. Because the problem is this. The Detroit Lions are not just standing pat. Hold on. Okay. What's this? All right, so the Detroit Lions are not just standing pat and going, okay, well, it was David Blau and we were going to hire him and now it's Mike McDaniel. No, they are moving on to other people. So I need a sense of urgency. I need a sense of urgency with Mike McDaniel. I need the Titans to move on. Again, the Raiders, we don't know what's happening with the Raiders QB situation. I wouldn't bet on that. I wouldn't think that that's going to happen. The Ravens, I don't think Mike McDaniel is the right fit for the Ravens. You know, he is quirky. He is kind of weird and strange. I don't know that that's the right fit with Lamar and Derrick Henry. I don't know if Derrick Henry's still. I'm guessing if Derrick Henry is going to continue playing, it's going to be with the Ravens. What other options are out there as a head coach for him to succeed and for him to fit? Because, again, we saw Tyreek Hill going crazy, and that's not difficult. We saw Tua out here throwing everybody under the bus. It was He didn't. I don't think he totally lost the locker room. But the biggest voices on offense, he lost those. He lost Tyreek Hill. He lost Tua Tagovailoa. Now, Tua's not great. You could say, most people would say, the Tua sucks. I tried to tell everybody Tua wasn't the one back when he was getting drafted. But Tua was the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. And Tua was going up to press conferences, taking zero blame, blaming coaches, blaming teammates, blaming equipment managers, blaming hydration specialists, blaming everybody but himself. He blamed the leadership, right? Up at the top, which is a direct shot at Mike McDaniel, all this stuff. All of that happened under Mike McDaniel's watch. So then the question is going to be, when he's in these head coaching interviews, what went wrong? How'd you handle that? What have you learned from it? And how would you prevent it from happening again? All right, let me get to your comments. You wanted to say some stuff about Brad. He always talks about not reaching on players, but yet these players who are so-called reaches go to other teams and ball out. Meanwhile, we reach on guys like Manu, Broderick, and Tesla. I don't know how to answer that, because you're right. But I don't know what he's thinking when he says things like that, when he's downplaying talent. The only thing that I can think of is this. We've talked about it so many times. Brad Holmes sees himself and all these injured players because he had a traumatic accident and he suffered a stroke and he had to learn how to walk again. And the odds were very slim for him to ever play again. And he was able to return and play. He also played at North Carolina A&T, which means he wasn't the most talented guy. I think, and I'm trying to give you some insight into the mind of Brad Holmes, not to give him a pass by any means. But to us as fans, it's maddening to watch what they do when you say things just as you said. Well, we don't want to reach, and then you grab Broderick Martin in the third round. Well, we don't want to reach, and then you grab Hendon Hooker in the third round. You actually grabbed Hendon Hooker in the same third round before Broderick Martin. And we know that there's a very large list of players that went after Hendon Hooker that could have helped this team, that are currently helping their teams, and Hendon Hooker is helping the bench. Someone said he was claimed by the Jets. Okay. All right, cool. So just insight into the mind of Brad Holmes. From what I can understand, he sees the players who are injured, he sees himself in them. And I do believe that he believes he embodies the entire grit culture, because he was in a tragic, traumatic car accident. He did have a stroke. He did have to learn how to walk again. One side of his body was briefly paralyzed, the stroke. So, with all that happening, and then he still was able to make it back to the field, I think he thinks that grit is the only way, and you don't have to be the most talented. And it's hard work won't beat talent when talent won't work hard. We know that. But it sometimes feels like he has a vendetta against the talented. Now, we can't say that because we have very talented players on our team. Jahmyr Gibbs is super talented. Jack Campbell is very talented. Amon-Ra St. Brown is very talented. J-Mo is super talented. Hutch is talented, right? Sam Laporta is super talented. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, we know. They're good players. They're gritty players. That's great. But you can't tell me when you look around the NFL that there are so many players that are on these other teams who have no grit. Now, when there are, like, for example, a Chase Young, there have been questions about his motor since he came out of Ohio State. And he hasn't done anything really to stop those questions. And he hasn't lived up to his draft status. He was the number 2 overall pick. He hasn't lived up to that. Then you have guys like Jadeveon Clowney, who that type of thing followed him around for his entire career. Jadeveon Clowney is 30 years old, 31, 32, right? But then you had guys who had high motors and who were talented, and you cut them. Za'Darius Smith. You had guys in here who had high motors, who were gritty, who fit your culture, and you let them walk for $4 million extra. Carlton Davis. So I don't know what the requirement is. I really don't. We need to try to figure that out and dissect that this offseason together. I really don't know what the requirement is. What's a Dan Campbell guy? Who fits the grit culture? Is it just someone that Brad Holmes drafts? Is it? Because Carlton Davis seemed to fit the culture quite well. Did he not? Did he not tell you how Dan Campbell was the favorite coach he ever played for? Did he not tell you that? Did he not tell you how much he wanted to be in Detroit? But then he tweeted out, put the tape on. Because Brad Holmes didn't want to pay him. Why wouldn't you pay him? Then you went and downgraded so you could save $4 million a year. Get what you pay for. I've been saying that. So I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know how to answer it. So are other players that you deem reaches really reaches, or are you just bad at evaluating talent? I don't think he's bad at evaluating talent. I don't think he would have gotten this far being bad at evaluating talent. I don't think he's great at decision making when it comes to the third round. It's like when he gets to the third round, when the third round is coming around, he starts drinking. And by the third round getting there, he's fully drunk for the entire third round, and he just does something crazy. You know, if we just took a third round pick and we just flip it, we're going to draft Broderick Martin. But Brad, he's probably going to go undrafted. I don't care. I don't give a flying flip if you think he's going to go undrafted because I'm the GM. Brad Holmes. Brad mother effing Holmes. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to draft Broderick Martin. I don't know. Maybe. I've never seen, it's just like, remember in Osama bin Johnson's first year where we couldn't do a damn thing in the third quarter. The third quarter was just terrible for the entire year. Remember that? I don't know, something about the number 3 with this team, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy. Regional guys is a gamble for every team. You can't hold it against Holmes that ours haven't worked out. Here's what I hold against Holmes. Project. So Brad Holmes doesn't reach. He gets projects in round number 3, where everyone else looks at rounds 5 through 7, where you're going to get a project. Brad Holmes has deemed the third round to be project round. Broderick Martin sucks. Manu sucks. Hendon Hooker sucked. Isaac Tesla is good, but why did you give up 3 third-round picks? This is what he has blame for. If Broderick Martin was selected in the 5th round, and by the way, he selected Colby Sorsdahl in the 5th round over Puka Nacua, which was the precursor to the Isaac Tesla pick, because he saw how Nacua turned out and he didn't want to miss the boat again. But drafting Colby Sorsdahl, who was absolute ass cheeks, over Puka Nacua was crazy. Okay? If Broderick Martin was drafted in the 5th or 6th or 7th round, by a show of hands, how many of you care? If Manu was drafted in the 5th or 6th or 7th round, by a show of hands, how many of you care? You see what I'm saying? Broderick Martin wasn't going to be drafted. He wasn't good. We're watching tape of him stand straight up on the snap. That's not someone you take in the 3rd round. That's a very raw prospect who's going to go undrafted. And then you sign him as an undrafted free agent and you let him develop. Cool, no problem. On the practice squad. This is the problem. We're not talking about reaches. We want reaches to happen. And not a reach just because. No, because you needed a guy here. There were apparently James Pierce is the guy that they were supposed to be trying to get. Remember reports that they're trying to trade back in, or they were trying to trade up to get an edge rusher. And we all thought it was Shamar Stewart, but James Pierce went like 1 pick before us because they let the Falcons leapfrog them. I saw something from Justin Spiro today, and I'm not going to say it's gospel, but he seems to believe that Brad Holmes could have gotten Danielle Hunter for the Terrion pick. Because remember, we weren't supposed to be able to get him, or whatever the case may be. Okay, cool. Maybe we could have traded the Terrion pick, maybe not. Maybe he has sources, which he probably does, to tell you that, yeah, he could have been, the Vikings would have accepted that pick. So this is what we're talking about. We're not, I don't blame Brad Holmes for reaching, or he doesn't reach. And that's the thing that Zach was saying. He's not reaching. He's making very terrible decisions with these 3rd-round picks, because that's not a reach. That's just an egregious. You draft someone in the 3rd round who wasn't going to be drafted by anyone else. It's crazy. Jahmyr Gibbs was a reach. No one's really killing Brad for that. Jahmyr Gibbs was a reach. To draft him at 12, you might have could have got him at 18. He was a reach. We love Jahmyr Gibbs. We want to see him fill needs. This offseason, we need offensive line help. And he said in his press conference, we're going to be urgent, aggressive, whatever. He understands the need at offensive line. He said he's going to explore the trade market, free agency, and the draft. And this time, if he makes a trade, he better make them stick. You know, in the draft, you see a guy falling, you better go up and get him. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because if you want this team to return, you got to do something about that offensive line. And then hopefully Mike McDaniel becomes your next offensive coordinator. Can you imagine Mike McDaniel with a protected Jared Goff? Y'all gonna be around here talking about Osama bin who? I'm not necessarily holding it against him, but don't get up there and tell us you're not addressing needs because you won't reach when you reach all the time. With all the hits he's had in the draft, how can you say he's bad at evaluating talent? Okay, that's a whole discussion y'all are having. All right. Bradley Melvin, Cornelius, Leonardo DiCaprio, Ignatius Holmes. Sounds like David Blau. Yeah, y'all are having this conversation here. Bucks in hot pursuit of Mike McDaniels. That bet, see, if he goes and accepts another offensive coordinating position, I'm gonna be upset. The Bucks don't even have a better offense. I'm just saying. Wingo was not a hit at all. Wingo was Mr. Healthy Scratch the entire year. And then when he did get in the last game, he committed a penalty that almost cost us. All right, let me see if I can get, past this. I need to learn more of McDaniel. For me, it's not culture. Head coach makes that, but he is young and seems smart and creative. Just a feeling. He's very smart. He's very creative, and he came from Kyle Shanahan. This is why we want Mike McDaniel so badly. Sorsdal is terrible. Okay, here's the problem with Sorsdal. Sorsdal is a 5th round pick, and I've said this before, but this is I think now people are going to be more receptive to this. Your offensive line picks, let's exclude last year. Let's exclude Tate Ratledge. Your offensive line picks were Penei Sewell, 1st round, number 7 overall. Colby Sorsdal, 5th round. Christian Mahogany, 6th round. Okay, now if we go back and we put in Tate Ratledge, okay, 2nd highest guy in 5 years is a 2nd round right guard who you tried to make a center out of the gate. And then you got Miles Frazier, 5th round. Why did you believe that you could repopulate and revamp, or I would say that you could regenerate and re-up the offensive line and not use top-end draft capital? I'm going to ask you guys a question, okay? Did we need Tyleik Williams at number 28? Did we need him? Like, just to be honest with yourselves. Did you need Tyleik Williams? That's my question. We had 3 stud offensive linemen. 2/3 of those 3 came from Bob Quinn. Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker came from Bob Quinn. They did not come from Brad Holmes. What up, the Tactical Sport? No, we could have went up to get Pierce. We could have. We really could have. Captain Jack was a reach also. I'm not going to say too much about Jack Campbell because he was 18th, right? And we had already had a pick. I don't know what offensive linemen were available, but it might have been good to grab one at 18, or it might have been good to grab one at 12 and then get Gibbs at 18. Or it might have been good to try. When did Jalen Carter go? Because I know we traded back. We had the number 6 pick and we traded back. Did Carter go before Gibbs or after? Because how many GMs also passed on Puka? That was like St. Brown mid-round picks who ended up being all pros. The problem is what happened to us because of it. That's the problem. The fallout. Okay, great game, great show. The fallout that happened because we needed to get our Puka Nacua and Isaac Tesla. So we wasted 3 third-round picks on a wide receiver when we didn't need one. That's my point. And you drafted Colby Sorsdahl, who can't play football in the NFL. He can't play. He's not good at football. He sucks. He's terrible. That's my problem. This year, did we need Tyleik? No. Did it doesn't matter. Do we need Tyleik? Do we really need Tyleik? This year, we did not need Tyleik. This year, we needed James Pierce. This year, we needed Josh Simmons. This year, we needed somebody that was going to help us on the interior or even the exterior of the offensive line because Taylor Decker was all banged up. This year, we needed someone that was going to be a dynamic edge rusher on opposite Hutch. Here's what happened. El-Quadin Muhammad came in here and got 11 sacks. And Brad Holmes thought that the pass rush looked good. How many sacks did the Denver Broncos have? We had 11 sacks from El-Quadin Muhammad. And we had 14 and a half sacks from Hutchinson. That is 25 and a half sacks. How many sacks did we have in total? Did we have 35? Someone look it up. Tell me how many sacks we had in total. But it helps get money off the books when Reader leaves. We had Roy Lopez, you know? And throughout the year, Roy Lopez played more than Tyleek Williams. Glasgow's not good. I didn't put him in the situation. I said we had 3 studs. Okay. Panay Sewell, Frank Ragnow, okay, and Taylor Decker. I didn't say nothing about Glasgow. I didn't put him in the mix. Only 2 spots. Love JMO, but reach. JMO wasn't a reach. And I'm going to tell you why he wasn't a reach. Because JMO was part of the we just need talent drafts. Okay? We just need talent. We need someone that can do something on this team to advance the football, to score points, or to stop someone from scoring points. That was the structure where we were just going BPA, or we were getting guys to establish a core of players. So would it really matter? I don't remember exactly. I think Jalen Waddle was drafted in the same draft as JMO. Would it really matter if we got Jalen Waddle or JMO? Would it really matter? We just needed talent at that point. Right? We needed talent. But no one is upset about it because, well, there's a lot of people that are upset about JMO. There's a lot of people that are upset about JMO. Okay. So we needed talent. With Gibbs, we needed talent. Okay, now we need people who are going to fill the needs and also be talented. Okay, I will call the first 3 drafts of Brad Holmes the stockpile drafts. The first 3 drafts of Brad Holmes, we got Panay Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell. Okay, so those first 3 drafts were the stockpile drafts. You had no talent on this team, and you were just stocking talent. Right? Now, this is where you see drafting acumen. Because guess what? And we can say this now because they're comparable. Jahmyr Gibbs and Devon Achane. If Brad Holmes didn't draft Jahmyr Gibbs, but he got Devon Achane, is anybody really upset? If Brad Holmes didn't draft Jahmyr Gibbs, but he drafted Bijan Robinson, is anybody really upset? No. But here's now we're in the era of no more stockpiling. We need you to get this roster complete. The fact that we got Tyleek Williams instead of an edge rusher, are people upset? Yes. Oh, crumbs, and you drafted someone who didn't help the team at all this year. Tyleik Williams had his moments, but we're not in the play. Right? He didn't do anything on the defensive line to put that unit over the top because that unit never went over the top. Would James Pierce have done something to put the unit over the top? Probably. He would have given you a young, dynamic pass rusher that you had to account for. Truth be told, wasn't a lot of offenses accounting for AQM. Because AQM is a 30-year-old journeyman who's been on 6 teams. And his previous high in sacks was 6. So now we're no longer in the stockpile era. So now we're looking the draft with Jameer and all them, and that was a great draft, but Broderick and Hendon, dumb picks. Because instead of resting on your laurels and going, yeah, I've had a great first 2 rounds, reaching for people who are not going to play in the NFL. They're projects. And if we want to be all the way honest, the Hendon Hooker pick was a nepotism pick because he knows the family and he's known them for, I think he went to college with his father. I think Brad Holmes went to college with Hendon Hooker's father, bro. That was as nepotism a pick as nepotism picks go. The 3rd round wasn't the time to make it. So now, when you ask these questions, we react negatively to draft picks like Tyleik Williams when we had clear needs on the team. Defensive tackle wasn't one of them. I'm sorry. We had DJ Reader and we had signed Roy Lopez. Defensive tackle wasn't a need. I'm sorry. And Lee McNeil was coming back. You understand what I'm saying? So if you wanted to get someone that was going to help your team this year and going forward, you should have traded up and got somebody. If it was James Pierce Jr., you should have traded up and got him. You shouldn't have waited around and let Atlanta freaking, get, because now we stood pat and we waited and we said, oh, Tyleik's there. He was the last guy on our board. If he's the last guy on your board, if he's the last guy on your board and he's the least likely to help you, trade up and get another guy that's still available. Anyway. Carter went 8th. Okay, Carter went 8th. No, when didn't Bijan go 8th? Or Bijan, did he go 8th or 10th? I thought Bijan went 8th. But whatever. Yeah, 10 for Carter. That's what I thought. And the Cardinals took an Ohio State tackle with the 6th pick. At this point, what would a bad Brad Holmes offseason actually look like? Last offseason? Last offseason was bad. It was terrible. This is what you let Carlton Davis out the door. You kicked Zadarius Smith out the door. You let Frank Ragnow out the door without any contingency plan. You let Kevin Zeitler out the door because you didn't want to pay him $9 million. You drafted Tyleik Williams, which did nothing for your offensive line, which didn't help your quarterback and your offense at all. Your run game was cheeks. This last offseason we just came off of was terrible. That was a bad Brad Holmes offseason. He went number 9. Uh, and then also with the gaslighting and the Egyptian magician 6 round, I don't know, yeah, all that's craziness. I think my frustration comes from the sheer arrogance. All right, so what I'm gonna do my jingle, and I'm gonna get to comments, and as I'm getting to these comments, there will be some hopefully mailbags coming in. Mailbag, mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they reading you? Mailbag, mailbag. Snick, 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 mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. All right, get your mailbag questions in. From the sheer arrogance up to this point, and based on the presser yesterday, I don't see much changing. Internet lagged on me. All I heard was the Bob Quinn building our line. Oh, okay. All good. Jalen Waddle was in the Sewell draft. Okay. Waddle went 6 between Chase and Sewell, which is crazy. Well, he did come from the Rams, and you can see how they operate. Why would you expect anything different? The Rams are F them picks. We going jacks them scouts. Hashtag if you know, you know. Use the hashtag. They F them picks. F them picks. Get this guy. I mean, when they won the Super Bowl, goodness gracious, look at their defense. Jalen Ramsey, freaking Aaron Donald, Von Miller, like crazy linebackers with like offensive weapons. They had F them picks. That's how they operate. And they're back in Super Bowl contention. This was a very, very bad take for you, Flying Wyatt. I don't know how they operate. They operate in a way that we don't. Because all we've done is go to one NFC championship game. And that's it. We bottom of our division, back in the basement. Yeah, well, Patricia came from New England, 7-time Super Bowl champs, and how did that turn out? Just because you came from the Rams don't make you the Rams. And if you did the things that the Rams did, then that's the thing. You are not doing Rammy stuff. You are not Ramalama Ding Dong on it. This is off the wall. Has anybody checked the electromagnetic fields around the Lions facilities, injury notes around the 49ers facilities? It's 3 to 4 times higher than the surrounding areas. Maybe. Sounds cutting out. I don't know what to tell you, man. I got to get a better connection for my mic. It's not about the mic. I don't know. Sounds like something you need to let the Lions medical staff know as opposed to us. You just made my point trying to make yours. Don, did Quinn drive Jonah Jackson or did Melvin? No, Melvin did not drive Jonah. That was Quinn. We needed Peyton Manning to redo his voodoo magic because his wizard spell is wearing off. Yeah, that was Quinn who drafted Jonah Jackson because Jonah Jackson was out of here the second year of their tenure because he went to the Rams 1 year and then the next year, this last year, he went to the Bears. So the third year of their tenure, he was out of there. So Brad Holmes wouldn't have drafted someone and let him go 3 years later. That wouldn't have happened. The same with Will Anderson. Carter number 9. Okay. I work in this field. Done right, it can be very helpful. Too much throws the body's energy into imbalance. We let Texans jump us for Will Anderson 1 pick ahead. Did that happen? No, that didn't happen. That didn't happen because the Texans drafted CJ Stroud, I think 2nd overall, and then 3rd overall. They just jumped up and got him. When did we have the 4th pick? We never had the 4th pick. Our highest pick of this regime was the Hutch pick, which was second. So the Texans jumped everybody for Will Anderson because they had 2 back-to-back picks. They traded with the Cardinals, I believe. The Lions' culture is a gift and a curse. I could agree to that. Mailbag, we let Texas. No, we didn't. That wasn't. They didn't jump us. They jumped the entire league. Jackson left, I think, going into 2024 because he's been gone for 2 years. He went to the Rams the first year, and that was after our. Was it after the playoffs? Yeah, because he was on the Rams, and then he was on. He was on the Rams, and then he was on the Bears. Stroud and Anderson were 2 and 3, right? Houston traded back up. They did. They right away. You mean in that draft when we had the 6th? No, it was 2 and 3. It was back to back. They didn't. No, we maybe could have done something, but I don't think anybody expected that. No one saw that coming. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Were Anderson and Carter in the same draft? Yeah, but it was 2 and 3. It was back to back picks. It was back to back because they traded with the Cardinals, I believe. After the title game, yeah, because yeah. We went to the title game in 23 because he didn't play in that game because he was injured. Yes, and then that's when we had Coyote, right? Okay, cool, but they didn't. No one expected the Texans to go 2 and 3. Like nobody expected that to happen. It was after the NFC Championship game. Okay. Mailbag, would you send the Raiders a 2nd-round pick for Jackson Powers Johnson? What are you doing with your 1st-round pick? But I don't know why you think that they would trade him. You're getting rid of your quarterback. You're getting rid of your coach. If you have a nice young center in place, you're not going to trade him. Why would you trade him? Okay, I get you, but I'm saying the Texans didn't jump us for Anderson. Nobody expected the Texans to draft CJ Stroud and then jump right back in and draft Will Anderson. Stuff like that doesn't usually happen. I don't think anybody expected that, which is why I don't say, that they jumped us for that. You know what I mean? That was a very ballsy move by the Texans because they were like, wait, again, that was another F them picks type of move. Should we have made the move? Yeah. I will agree with you 100%. But then also, with our defensive coordinators, do they even use them right together? You know? Yeah, we were supposed to take Devon Witherspoon. Right. New regime, clean house in Vegas. You don't clean house with centers, left tackles. Nah. Skill positions, quarterbacks, yeah, but trenches, no fire sale in the trenches. Sorry. hindsight debate, in my opinion. It is a hindsight debate. He was on the block at the deadline. Who was on the block at the deadline? Oh, Jackson Powers Johnson. Was he really on the block and nobody went and got him? You only see us. As I said, that was the rest. Everybody was available. Oh, well, Carroll was fired. Carroll was fired. So I think he's back cool. You know, you fired the guy, Pete Carroll. So yeah, nah. I'd take Jackson. He played with Sewell at Oregon. I'm happy with Gibbs, Campbell, Laporta, and Branch. I'm happy with them too. And you have to ask yourself about Will Anderson doing that and all. Anyway, but guys, I got to go. Well, if you didn't get him at the deadline, knowing what I know now, definitely would have traded him a second round pick. All right, y'all. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your lines news pragmatic. For those of you who don't know, I got to go make some money. I'm out. Peace.